It's the 21st century. The planet has shrunk to the size of a website. Never before have there been so much communication by so many about so much that achieved so little. Yes, it's a digital world, but we're all good boys and girls.
My DVD plays my MP3s. I downloaded the manual online for free. And I got BBTI, I got my TV in the sky, I got the telephone number, it's as big as the sky. So bring it over here, plug it in the wall, make the lights go on and on. We'll take it out the fridge, put it in the microwave, let's do something cool. We're stuck on the space-safe digital world. We'll be good boys and girls, and we'll all sing along as the numbers they go, they go. Oh oh one oh one oh 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 one oh one oh one one oh one 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 oh oh one one. It's a digital world. We'll be good boys and girls. We'll all sing along with the numbers as they swirl around, round, 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 round. I got megapixels, Formula One, got GPS and a camera phone. No, I don't speak out, no, I don't make a fuss, because you bought me off with all the latest stuff. Am I lucky number 7 and 6 and 17? I always play those numbers on the lottery. So bring it over here, plug it in the wall, make those lights go on and on. You can take it out your fridge and put it in the microwave. Let's go in the car, something that we've never been, a digital world. We'll be good boys and girls, and we'll all sing along as the numbers go wrong. They go oh oh one oh one oh one 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 oh oh one 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 oh oh one 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 oh one oh oh one oh one 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 oh oh oh. It's a digital world. I'm just a number to me, I'm just a number to you. Bring it over here, plug it in the wall, make the lights go on and on. Take it out the fridge and put it in the microwave. Let's do something cool with gadgets from the space-age digital world. We'll be good boys and girls.
Thanks, and now the weather. The planet's fucked, it's your fault, and it's getting worse. Have a nice weekend.
The best thing you can do to annoy fascists is sing, dance, have a good time.
Here are scenes from Israel as convoys start emerging and finding their way to Jerusalem. So very, very interesting times we are living in, ladies and gentlemen. And on this note, I'm going to leave you with the words Brian Peckford, the last living signatory to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms at the Freedom Convoy protest in Victoria, British Columbia. This is another one that you probably won't see much of on the news. but had an amazing turnout.
And we're not going to allow this nation on the northern part of North America to go down the drain because we have people who've gotten hungry for power and have discarded the individual freedoms that you and I own. They are ours. There's none to say. That's why individual rights and freedoms are so important, right? Because it's you as a person, you as an individual, not you as a family, not you as a group, okay? Not you as part of some other organization, not you as part of the province. It's you as an individual Canadian. Possess these rights. That's what's important.
Even if you don't know, you have them.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, you got it. How you doing?
Doing awesome work.
Oh yeah, you been watching?
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, even us locals watch the stream.
Awesome.
Down here, man.
You got anything you want to say to the people? We got 3,600 right now.
Cool. Well, you'll see me in the chat sometimes. Future Now with 2 W's.
Future Now.
You got it. Yeah.
That's it.
Just here for freedom like everybody else, and Trudy just keeps getting more and more upset. So I guess we'll just hang out for a bit.
Yeah, everyone's still here.
Can't go out. It's an emergency state.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate your work, man. Enjoy it.
Oh, you're from Ottawa.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you think of the whole thing? A lot of people from Ottawa are not happy. I'm from Ottawa too. I live downtown. I've had no problems. Everything's been great.
Similar. I think this is quite important.
Yeah.
A little tiny bit of temporary inconvenience, I think, for a lot of these Centertown residents is more than they can handle. Whereas a lot of us have endured 2 years of difficulty due to this government. So we're just peacefully making our point, I think. Quite well, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep it up.
Agreed.
And so I agree with you as a resident that I haven't personally been inconvenienced at all. This is beautiful. It's wonderful. Safest it's ever been.
Yeah, exactly. Crime rates are down.
Yeah.
I think you have a case where you have people looking for something to complain about. You know what I mean?
It depends how deep that rabbit hole you want to go. So a lot of people, I won't go any further. I'm just pleased to see the fence down here, and I'm pleased to see all you streamers out here doing an awesome job. Like, essentially, you are the media now. You are the media that people can trust. I mean, when you have a government that's telling you things through the mainstream media, they're essentially telling you, don't believe your eyes and ears.
Yeah,
believe
exactly.
what we're telling you is happening.
Yeah, 100%.
This is the most peaceful occupation or siege I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more.
It's a block party.
Now to one of Vancouver's most famous statues. Today it was toppled over and defaced by some of those taking part in the annual Women's Memorial March. A video posted to social media shows hundreds of people cheering as a Gassy Jack statue on Water Street was torn down, narrowly missing bystanders. The statue was also covered in red paint. The Gassy Jack statue, which depicts Jack Dayton, who opened a bar in this neighborhood in the late 1800s, has been a source of controversy in recent years. A petition was launched in 2020 calling for the statue to be removed. According to the petition, it was a terrible symbol of Vancouver upholding and honoring violence towards Indigenous people. Some people who attended the Women's March today said they had no idea this statue was going to be brought down.
And I was in disbelief. I wasn't anticipating that the group decided to remove the statue on their own. So I'm just in shock that it happened.
Vancouver Mayor Kennedy Stewart tweeting this afternoon the city has been in consultation with the Squamish Nation on the right way to remove the statue. The mayor adds today's actions were dangerous and undermine ongoing work with the Squamish Nation to guide steps to reconciliation.
As the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister invoked the Emergencies Act. 24 hours in, and there are more questions than answers. Questions about whether this is justified, questions around if the criteria is met, questions around what this means to Canadians' rights and freedoms. Parliamentary approval is required in order for the Prime Minister to use this unprecedented sledgehammer. So, can the Prime Minister tell us, when will Parliament be debating this? Will it be coming to us on Friday? And does he expect that we will look at it Friday, but then rise, take a week off, and not actually deal with this until March?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Speaker, after discussions with Cabinet and caucus, after consultations with the premiers of all provinces and territories, after conversation with the opposition leaders, we decided to invoke the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. I want to be very clear, Mr. Speaker. The scope of these measures are time-limited and geographically targeted. They are reasonable and proportionate to the threat they are meant to address, and they are fully to be compliant with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to reassure all Canadians that this is the right thing to move forward. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I had a very simple question to the Prime Minister he was not able to answer. It would appear this could be more political drama for the Prime Minister. He name calls people that he disagrees with. He wedges, he divides, he stigmatizes. Yet in spite of all of his failure, Coote's border has cleared. Windsor has opened up. Provinces and police are doing their jobs, and blockades are starting to come down. But the Prime Minister thinks that now is the time to use this extreme measure and invoke the Emergencies Act. Isn't it true that the Prime Minister's actions could serve to actually make things worse and not make things better?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Speaker, this is about keeping Canadians safe, protecting their communities and neighbourhoods, and ensuring jobs and our economy. I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt the Right Honourable Prime Minister. I'm trying to hear the answer, and I'm having a very difficult time. There's some shouting going on. I'm going to have to ask the honourable members, maybe just keep it down. And if you've got something that you're not agreeing with, talk amongst yourself with someone next to you. You don't have to shout it out to the person across the floor. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, you are absolutely right. This is a time for responsible leadership, not crass partisanship. The situation requires additional tools not held by other federal, provincial, or territorial law. It's what responsible leadership requires. These measures must be and will be compliant with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We will always defend the rights of Canadians to peaceful assembly and to freedom of expression, but these blockades need to end, and unfortunately, Conservative politicians continue to encourage the leaders of these blockades. Well, Leader of the Opposition.
Well, let's get down to the basics of what this is really about. This is about the Prime Minister's ideological attachment to keeping COVID restrictions and mandates. 63% of Canadians want the restrictions and mandates to end. Conservatives presented a motion yesterday asking simply for a plan, but the Prime Minister is in denial and is ignoring the science. He might as well be back at the cottage because he's doing nothing productive or constructive to help this situation. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians when he will end the divisive, outdated, and unscientific mandate and restrictions?
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Speaker, like I said, this is a time for responsible leadership to end these blockades. Unfortunately, the Conservatives continue to play partisan games. The Conservative member for Provencher just yesterday... I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut off the Prime Minister just for a second.
Invocation of the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history is a damning indictment on the failure of this Prime Minister to address the situation. The Prime Minister once said, I quote, "When a government asks its citizens to give up even a small portion of their liberty, it is not simply enough to say, trust us. That trust must be earned, it must be checked, and it must be renewed." These are his words. Canadians do not trust this Prime Minister. When will he stop undermining Canadians' rights and start renewing Canadians' trust?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians can trust that this government will always follow the science and the best evidence to get us out of this pandemic, and that includes getting vaccinated, Mr. Speaker. And contrary to what my colleague says, this is an illegal blockade. This illegal blockade is not about the vaccines or the mandates. It's about a very small, organized group who are trying to upend our way of life, Mr. Speaker. Now, we've made progress. We've seen the Ambassador Bridge reopen. We've seen Coots reopen. We've seen Surrey reopen. And, Mr. Speaker, yesterday, yes, we invoked the Emergencies Act so that we can secure that progress and give law enforcement all of the tools they need. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, we'll see if the Prime Minister answers this one. Every opportunity he has had to de-escalate this situation in Ottawa and around Canada, he has chosen to hide, to confront, and to escalate. His divisive conduct has been a lesson in abject failure. Blockades should come down. They are already coming down across this country. But now the Prime Minister has invoked the Emergencies Act to punish Canadians who, in his words, hold unacceptable views. Why is the Prime Minister punishing Canadians for their political views?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
It wasn't long ago that the former Conservative leader, now the member for Regina Capel with the Conservative Party, said the following: "These protesters, these activists, may have the luxury of spending days at a time at a blockade, but they need to check their privilege. They need to check their privilege and let the people whose jobs depend on the railway system and small business and farmers do their jobs." And what have they said now in this context from the beginning? As swastikas flew, as Confederate flags flew, they went out and they gave coffee. They took pictures. They are absolutely the opposite of responsible leadership. Instead of de-escalating, they escalated at every turn.
To act responsibly. The Honourable Member for Calgary Midnapore.
Are you done now?
Honourable Member for Calgary Midnapore.
Are you done now? For 2 years, the Prime Minister has insisted he is making decisions based.
I just want to remind the Honourable Members to place their questions through the Speaker. I'll let her restart her question.
Are you done now?
I wonder what's going on. Anybody have any information? Bev?
No, hi, Carolyn. I don't.
We're all getting to our breaking point. Maybe I too, but one of my frustrations has been when we expect action, we don't see it. It's a problem. We expected Coventry Road. We sort of got half the job done, and then there seemed to be a backing away. It took way too long in Confederation Park. This weekend, when we said that we were going to treat the protesters, more strongly than we have in the past, we had a chaotic carnival on Parliament Hill. I tell you, I wanted to go up there and pop that damn hot tub myself and unplug the bouncy castle. And I couldn't understand why we weren't doing just those things that were poking the fingers in the eye of our house, of Parliament, of our democracy, and of our city. And so, if there's some frustration spilling over, it's, okay, now we're getting the resources. This board is working very hard behind the scenes, and I want to assure the public that that is true, to put a new structure in place that will bring about a peaceful end to this illegal occupation as soon as possible. But I think what the public needs to hear today, what I, as the chair of this board, need to hear today, is that there is going to be stepped up enforcement, and that the disruptive, ridiculous, annoying behavior that has persisted is going to be addressed in a meaningful and expeditious fashion. That's what we want to hear.
By now, most of us have heard the rumors that they want to send in MCFD to take the kids from the convoy. And some of us have also seen the video by frontline nurse Kristen Nagel, who went toe-to-toe with CTV while they were setting up the film said segment. A warning to our fearless leader and to the pathetic mayor of Ottawa. If you guys touch one single child out there, you will enrage every mother in this country. I will personally gather minivans full of soccer moms, and we will drive to Ottawa. And if you think the truckers are giving you a hard time right now, you have seen nothing. Trust me, you do not want a city full of angry moms, because there ain't no angry like mom angry.
Delighted today to introduce you to and to interview one of the few independent journalists left in Canada. He's a Montrealer named David Freiheit. Online he goes by Viva Fry. He's a lawyer, a vlogger, and he's our guest right now. David, great to see you and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Ezra, I still don't consider myself a journalist. I'm just a guy with a camera who wants to know the truth and understand what's going on.
Well, that is the working definition of journalism. It's an activity. It's not a profession. I mean, you need to pass an exam. You need to be under the authority of a college of physicians and surgeons or a, law society to be a doctor or a lawyer. But a journalist is someone who just tells the daily news. And I think you are a journalist. And I think you're an unfettered one because you don't take the dough from the government. So first, let's start off by talking about what you saw, because you were on the streets of Ottawa for days, 3-4 hour stints of live streaming. You really showed more of what was happening on the ground than the entire daily output of the CBC, for example. You were just showing people the raw facts.
Ezra, I'll show you what I've got here. These are my battery packs, color-coded, so I know which ones are expired. And I've been just plugging them into my phone and live streaming in real time just to see what's going on. Over the weekend, the first weekend, I didn't make it down, and people were telling me, you have to go down, see what's going on. I was reading what was going on, coming from the CBC, coming from whomever, and then I hear what's going on from people who are there. And I say, these two realities are mutually incompatible. They cannot be both existing at the same time. So I say, I'm going down Monday. I'm going to live stream, see if I see any Nazi flags, any Confederate flags, any acts of violence. And if I see them, the world will see it in real time because I'm live streaming and I cannot cut, edit, nor would I want to. So the first day, I think I did like 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours, just streaming, just walking, talking to people. It was the diametric opposite of what the CBC, of what, I don't want to name others who I'm not sure actually are guilty of this, of what the other legacy Canadian media were describing as going on there. We heard reports of monuments being defaced, urine and other waste on the War Memorial, the Terry Fox monument being vandalized. And I swear to you, not only did I not see any of it, the Terry Fox had flowers at the base of it. The War Memorial had veterans watching guard over it, shoveling the snow, salting the sidewalk, because apparently the city wasn't doing it. People were dancing, people were loving. It was multicultural. It was women, men, indigenous people, black people. I interviewed someone from Kuwait. everything that the media had been saying about this protest was an absolute fabrication. And but for the fact that I went down to see it with myself, I might not have known that.
Wow. I mean, a lot of establishment icons have tumbled because of this convoy. Aaron O'Toole was one of the first to go because of his refusal to even communicate with them. Incredibly, the resignation of the Ottawa police chief, I think, is directly a result of the convoy. There's a lot of things that have happened. I think the media party's reputation has been devastated by their false coverage of this, but they don't know it yet. Like the police chief in Ottawa, he knows what happened. Aaron O'Toole, he knows what happened. The various premiers who have said, all right, we're ending our vaccine.
My name is Eddie Cornell. I'm a 22-year veteran of the Canadian Forces in the combat arms trade. I'm speaking on behalf of veterans that have expressed grave concern for the direction our country seems to be going when you force your citizens to comply with orders that don't make sense. So we have lended our voice to the truckers movement and convoy with supporting the reducing of their mandates and removing them. So the veterans also took down the gates at the monument, which was something that was very offensive to veterans across the nation, to have a monument that our soldiers in the past and our war dead surrounded by a gate. Very offensive. So the veterans took it upon themselves to remove those barriers and protect that monument for a 24-hour period each and every day. What I saw in the media, once that story was put out, was that they tore down the gates and desecrated the monument. That is totally not true. I request that all of you please tell the truth. Don't shape a narrative. Tell the truth. That's all we ask. So the veterans have come forward and stepped up and came here to support people that are standing up for the freedoms that we all know as a Canadian. And we know what's right and we know what's wrong. So I'm calling on all veterans to come lend your voice to this movement so that the rest of Canada can see that this is wrong and they have our support. In closing, I'd just like to say, anyone that can get here, whether it's a car or on foot, please come. Your country needs you, and we need your support. And we need the hearts and minds of everyone in Canada to lend your voice, to speak up and stand up, and to tell people that you know and people that are in positions of trust and in your political arena that this is wrong. And we're not standing for that. They need to listen to what people have to say, and up to this point, no one has been listening. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah, really? Oh, Matt, I'm mad at you. Yeah, I'm just dying. Go ahead. I got the 5% alert and I had to plug the thing. Oh, yeah, I know for sure. I'm at 10, I think. Yeah, maybe it's just that.
I love you all. You all are amazing. Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, good night.
I'm gonna try and charge you guys up. Oh, I don't have my charger, damn it. This evening. Apparently insurance issues. We're having a snowball fight here.
Oh, Jesus. Snowball fight. We got ourselves a snowball fight. Whoa. Oh, he got hit in the face. Maybe we should. He's using the sign as a shield. Guys, let's get in here. Let's get into the snowball fight. Uh-oh. Oh. He's using the table as a shield. Maybe police and protesters should. This is how it should be worked out. We should have a snowball fight. Where do I come from? I'm from Ottawa.
Ottawa, okay. You
Yeah.
are local.
And yourself?
I live in Gatineau.
Oh, you live in Gatineau?
Yeah.
Okay, what brings you down here tonight?
Because in these days, I always watch the video from the leader organization, truck convoy. They said maybe it's danger for those men. Maybe the police will arrest them. Okay, so I always come here.
Okay.
To stand with the truckers.
Oh, you're here to stand with the truckers.
Yeah.
And how has COVID affected your life? Has it affected your life in a negative way? Or tell us a little bit about that, your experiences.
Sure, because now I don't have the vaccine passport. I'm forbidden to cinema, swim pool, and ski.
Okay,
Yeah.
and those are two things you really enjoy. Has it affected your job at all, not being vaccinated?
Because now I am studying in the college, so that's okay. But some of my friends, because different colleges have different rules. One of my friends, he is in college too, and he is forced to have the vaccine. And I think there are some bad affections for him after the vaccine.
Okay. Well, we're sorry to hear that. And how long will you be down here? Are you going to be down here all night? And are you coming back tomorrow? Maybe the weekend?
Because I am an author in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote some poems and prose for this freedom convoy.
Okay.
According to my observation, and some of my Chinese friends, when they read these articles, they gave me some donation for these truckers. And so I booked 2 nights for some truckers, 1 room to that for 2 nights, and today I will get them to the hotel.
Okay.
And I have translated some of them into English. Last Sunday, I gave a speech. My topic of the speech is a good fight for freedom, and I can give you my English version. I have translated them into English.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That sounds great. Well, I'm so glad that you're down here fighting for your cause, and it's actually nice to see you look very happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. So this is sorry, what was your first name?
My pen name is Zuo Wang.
Okay, from Gatineau, and we're gonna move on. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and enjoy your night down here. Have a great night. Maybe we'll see you soon. All right. Let's see here. Can you hold that up?
Okay.
We're going to take a little bit of a struggling with this tonight. Interesting. We'll definitely take a screenshot of that and read that later. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening, eh? Yeah. Oh, you're going to give that to me? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know what you were... Okay, my apologies. Okay. Okay, we got this for later. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, my God. Guys...
We can burn. Yeah. And they're all standing around. Nobody's leaving. Just talking, having fun. They're going to crack heads, man. These people, look, there's a guy jumping through and he just fell onto the...
If you can leave, you can leave. And if you don't leave, then you know you're in for it.
There's a car on fire just outside the bay on Granville. And there's flames.
If they didn't want something to happen, yeah, I know what you're saying.
To jump over the hood and try to leap over
pretty obvious, even to you, that's obvious.
Lands on the roof of the car.
Just asking for trouble, yeah.
Falls off. He didn't catch on fire, but I mean, this is the kind of mentality we're dealing with right now in downtown Vancouver.
But this is all the stress of the economy and everything else. That's what people are reacting about.
What injuries might occur.
Yeah, people are blowing their lid because they don't have jobs, because the government sucks, and, you know, the government's at war, they got HST, they got all this crap going on. People want to strike back, right? So they do this, right? And same as in France, they just need an excuse, or Italy, or Portugal, or something, right?
Or making their way into the city if they haven't arrived already. And these people are in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, because all the RCMP, all the new West cops are coming in now, the Surrey cops. And
the police and the reinforcements are going to finally say, enough is enough. And then I think from them, they're not going to just say move back and maybe use the batons a little. I think they're going to start swinging.
I wonder if all the cops are downtown.
When did these guys?
I don't know. It's like a cab or something. It's a cab.
It's a little cab.
There's a broad spectrum of us, and the broad spectrum is necessary in order to have this sort of a complex society. Until we invent robots that are going to do shitty jobs, we're going to need monkeys. We're going to need dumb fucking people. We're going to need idiots. You know, that's a terrible way to look at the world. And it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody born into the idiot family has to be an idiot. It doesn't necessarily mean that the idiots can't, like, snap out of it if somehow they do mushrooms or take a yoga class or try to look at their life in a different way. But for many people, the reason why they're idiots is not necessarily that their brain doesn't work that well. It's like they got in a terrible pattern, like, really early in life, and they have become a dumb fuck. And they're stuck, and they live with a bunch of other dumb fucks, so they get all this negative energy all the time. They're constantly dealing with conflicts at home that are meaningless but distract them from getting good at anything in life or from getting your own personal shit together, because all your energy is being diverted towards conflicts. Like, that's why it's so important to not have negative people in your life. Because if you're trying to evolve, and I know you are, and I am, and all of our friends are, everyone's trying to improve as a person. It's very difficult to fucking figure out how to be a person. It's very difficult to figure out how to manage your energy and to know when you're wrong and know when you're being upset for no reason. It's a tricky thing, you know, and one of the most important things about it is you need to pay attention. You need to have time to think about your own interactions with other people, to think about, like, the way you behave, to think about the way you think, to think about, like, the direction that you're moving in the world. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of energy. And if your energy is being spent constantly dealing with bullshit, constantly dealing with fucking stupid fights that are over nothing with your girlfriend or with a buddy who's a shithead and always apologizes but then is a shithead again. You know, if you ever have a friend like that does, like, shitty things to, you know, like fucks this guy's ex-girlfriend or something and does it in, like, some sort of a creepy way and doesn't tell him, or, you know, fucking steals some of your shit and doesn't bring it back, or you lend him money and he doesn't pay you back, you know, just douchey shit that sort of piles on. Like, as soon as something like that happens in a relationship with a friend, like, you automatically start paying too much attention to it. It automatically becomes like, okay, now this isn't an enhancing relationship anymore. This isn't, I hang around with you and we have a great time. You say funny shit, I laugh. I think about things differently because I think about them from your point of view. You think about things from my point of view because we're totally different human beings. It's an enhancing experience. But when you have shitheads in your life and people that aren't thinking about evolving and people that aren't, they haven't subscribed to the right the right energy. They haven't subscribed to the right direction in their life. So they don't have their shit together. So you're constantly like dealing with conflict when you're around them. When you do that and you put yourself in those sort of situations, you will fuck yourself. That is an energy vampire. And there's so many people that get locked into relationships and friendships and work situations. I mean, how many people just fucking hate the people they work with? Because you're with the people you work with even more than you're with your spouse. Most people, you get home at night, it's 6 o'clock. How long are you going to be awake? You're going to be awake for another 4 hours. You're going to go to sleep at 10, probably. You're going to crash. You're going to be at work in the morning. You're fucking tired. So if you think about it, how much time you're spending with your spouse and your kids, between commuting and all that shit, it's like you're dealing with like 3 hours a night. But you're working, you're dealing with people 8 hours a day.
This is Matthew Cratter from Trade University, and today I want to answer the question, can Canada actually freeze Bitcoin addresses? And when you're using that word freeze, you of course have to insert your mandatory Canadian cold weather joke here. To recap what happened earlier this week, the Indian Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, invoked the Emergencies Act for the first time in history. And I just wanted to say here as a side note, it's a beautiful thing how white Canadian men have been dressing these days. This is not cultural appropriation at all. But there you see the Indian Prime Minister of Canada. He invoked the Emergencies Act to try to stop the trucker protest. And then as part of this, Canada made an announcement, the Canadian government made an announcement that they would be including crowdfunding and cryptocurrency platforms under the Terrorist Financing Act as a way of trying to stop Bitcoin from getting to the truckers. I find this quite amusing, especially when you still have people like Peter Schiff saying that Bitcoin is completely useless. Well, the Canadian government here would seem to disagree. They seem to be very scared of Bitcoin. If you're finding this video helpful so far, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. So as part of this designation of cryptocurrencies, bringing them under this Terrorist Financing Act, we've been getting a lot of headlines about how Canada has sanctioned these 34 crypto wallets that are tied to these donations to the truckers. They include Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero, and Cardano addresses on the list. But most of them, the vast majority of them, are Bitcoin addresses. And so what a lot of you have been asking is, what exactly does it mean to sanction a crypto wallet? I thought Bitcoin was decentralized and censorship resistant. So how can the Canadian government freeze these accounts? Well, they haven't actually frozen everything. What they've done, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, has sent out a blacklist of Bitcoin addresses, and they told all the regulated Canadian Bitcoin companies and crypto companies to report any activity that is coming from these Bitcoin addresses, which are associated with Hong Kong Coddle and other fundraising for the truckers. Here is I was able to find this on Twitter. You can probably search for it there as well. This is what they're calling the cryptocurrency alert, the Cryptocurrency Emergency Act. And so these are the addresses, the Bitcoin addresses in particular. You can see there's just one Litecoin, one Cardano, and one Monero address, a couple ETH addresses, and then all the rest is Bitcoin, which really shows you again where Bitcoin's market share is. I think it's a good indicator. But what they're doing is they're telling all exchanges, if something comes from one of these Bitcoin addresses, you need to do something about it. And so if you were to send Bitcoin from one of these blacklisted addresses or something related to it, so a few transactions or a few hops away, if you send Bitcoin from one of these addresses to a regulated crypto exchange or Bitcoin exchange in Canada, probably even the US, I wouldn't be surprised, that Bitcoin will almost certainly be confiscated by the exchange and turned over to the Canadian government. If you have an account at one of these exchanges and someone tries to send you Bitcoin from one of these blacklisted Bitcoin addresses to your account there, you may also get a phone call or a knock on the door in the middle of the night, especially if you live in Canada, even if you never requested the Bitcoin to be sent to you. So this is one of the dangers of criminalizing information, criminalizing software. However, it's really important to notice the government, Canadian government, US government, no government can stop Bitcoin peer-to-peer transactions. We're talking about just the fiat interface here with the Canadian crypto exchanges.
I wonder what's going on. Anybody have any information? Bev?
No, hi, Carolyn. I don't.
Say one of the counselors said should do everything in her power. Well, you're destabilizing the oversight body for Ottawa Police in the middle of the biggest crisis in this city's history. That's not doing everything to bring this to an end. That is being ridiculously political. And you know that you're doing it because it's an opportunity to try and deflect away from the mayor who made, in my estimation, just a horrendous decision to negotiate with terrorists and to put 40 more trucks into the core, like just mind-boggling. And anyway, I can't even go there. And then I find the breach of conduct allegation that the mover of the motion is making just the most horrendous thing that I've heard in a while. Terrorists.
Sorry. Well, I think Councillor Shirley had something else there.
Councillor Shirley?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help to continue the name calling through the rest of this. By calling people who came as part of the trucker convoy different names, whether you believe them to be true or not, it probably doesn't make them want to cooperate. And so I just ask people to keep that in mind.
Councillor Tierney, please.
The entire board almost resigning. Certainly all of council's appointments. The provincial appointments would remain, as I understand, although maybe they'll resign too, given what's happening here today. So I'll probably get back on the list, Mayor, but very disgusted in your actions today.
Councillor McKenney, please.
So I guess the word of the evening is, in the day or the last 2 days, really is scapegoat. And what we've scapegoated now is the first Black police chief in the city of Ottawa, only the second woman to ever chair Police Services Board. And I believe the first one, Marion Dewar, was also tossed from chair as Police Services Board. So we have a long history of misogyny in the city of Ottawa and racism. And now what we have is our colleague, Councillor King, who has resigned, and all the mayor could say is thank you and move on. The gross negligence of what has happened in this city, the negligence that has put people's lives at risk, and especially this coming weekend and moving forward, because there is no clear plan anymore. I think it's shocking that anyone would suggest we need a few days or a week to pull ourselves together. You obviously have not been down there. You obviously did not live down in Centertown. The negligence goes far beyond any, it's us as a city council. Police Services Board, perhaps. Federal government, huge. Provincial government, huge. We all share in it. We all share in it. But what's happening tonight, this motion that we are debating tonight is political. It is a power grab by this mayor, because why else would we be appointing Councillor Eli El-Shantiri, who I'll remind you went to the wedding of a former chief of police at one point. A little conflict of interest there, but we're not going to Google that tonight, are we?
Sir, Councillor Harder, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody. It's been a really good conversation, and I just want to be very clear, which I was 4 years ago, well, 3.5 years ago, I guess, right before we were sworn in this term of council. CTV captured me telling them that I was not running again in the next election, which is this fall. What I bring to the table today is a lot of experience, and a lot of experience also on the Police Services Board. And no matter what Chair Dean says, this stupidity by the board has destabilized this place more than slowly resigning. It was absolutely irresponsible to hire some random guy who hasn't policed in 8 years. In 8 years. Without any consultation, having been on the board when we went through hiring processes, which will have to happen again, I can tell you that it's incredibly important to have the right person for Ottawa. I think in this time, at this moment, in this freaking city, Acting Chief Bell is the person to have. I can't even imagine what he's thinking right now as to what has happened to him in the space of 24 hours. It is absolutely ludicrous, and it's such a bad decision. So I will tell you, having started off with saying I'm not running again, and I said that 3.5 years ago, I am only here until the letter goes out to all of you when we have gone through this process, and when we are stable, and when we have put the, I've helped Eli as much as I can, and Eli and I served together previously. I'm not putting my name forward to continue to the end of the term. I'm here for a purpose, and it's for this city, and it's for right now. If you support me, I will work as hard as I can with the knowledge I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
The people organizing this protest want to overthrow the government, have said so publicly on their website. So does that give any justification to invoking this, act as it should be done early in your view?
Yeah, I think the legal test in the act itself is quite clear. It doesn't speak to the content of the speech that people might be saying online or otherwise. Frequently, there are very extreme views that are expressed online and in protests. That is not unusual, and that in and of itself does not justify the invocation of the Emergencies Act.
I'd like to make another comment about the legal test and the legal necessity. The government tabled before Parliament its statement and its materials explaining why it believed that it could invoke the Emergencies Act. And the kinds of things that it referred to were the Canadian economy, international trade, and stopping the protests and the disruption for families. These are the statements that we've heard in the media by the government. This is what was in their original declaration of emergency, and it was what was presented again today. if you wanted to stretch the Emergencies Act and make it a normal power that governments could bypass democratic processes, something that we strongly oppose, then you could argue that any kind of protest at any time, anywhere, and many other activities constitute a national emergency. Every time police have to deal with organized crime or a difficult law enforcement situation, that too threatens the lives and safety of Canadians. But the Emergencies Act is clear. It has to be a very serious danger to the life, health, and safety of Canadians. That is completely overwhelming to the provinces, or it has to be a serious threat to the territorial integrity, security, or sovereignty of Canada that Canada does not already have laws to address. That is what we mean by the rule of law. We want democratic laws to address difficult situations, not emergency powers.
Yeah. Oh, you can't go this. Okay. Okay. What?
Understand that what's happening in Canada, what's north of us, is something that could affect us as well. So, you know, even though we can't physically be there, we can just pray for their protection and safety, because they truly are the embodiment of holding the line. And they're holding the line for their kids, their grandkids, and their future freedoms and their rights. So I just want to lift them up in prayer as you guys. Father God, I thank you for bringing us together. Even though it was a cold night, we braved it. We want Canada to know that we stand together. We stand together as brothers and sisters. And as I pray in the Spirit, I just ask that you move over the hearts of the military and the police right now, that they stand down and that they understand those that they are terrorizing right now. That they are their brothers and sisters. They're the Canadian brothers and sisters. I ask that you just put a protection over those Canadians, over the truckers, their families, and all the peaceful protesters that have assembled in Ottawa to stand for their freedoms. You know, I ask that you protect them, that you keep them through this night. It's going to be the first night that they are experiencing this discrimination and this horror that's happening to them. I ask a prayer of healing over those that have been hurt, have been abused, have been ripped from their families.
heavens from where my strength comes. Not let go. Lord, let your spirit flow, let your presence be known. Whatever made me think that you were not with me since the beginning. And countless times you tried to free me from all my doubts and insecurities. You've knocked on my heart for so long. I now open the door, and now you reside in me. And there is nothing I'll go through that you won't go through with me. So if anyone wanted to check my credentials, let them first check the maker of all my potential. Take me deeper, Lord, and my feet could ever run. And my faith will be made.
G20, the crowd started singing the national anthem. Oh, that guy just passed out. That cop just bailed. He's not okay. He just fainted or something. Arrest him! Oh, he just went down. Oh.
These protests being harassed, screamed at, as you can hear. This is the one thing, Yasmin, that unites these groups that are protesting here for the last 3 weeks is the way they feel about the media. They are venting it loudly and often, as you can tell. So we apologize for not kind of the kinder, gentler Canada you may be used to seeing. You're a real true hero, man. What's your name? Fucking sleaze bag. Get a real fucking job. Josh, I've lost the RP. Fucking sack the goddamn shit. Who pays your tax? We lost. The media is the virus. You guys got the truth that you appreciate. Thanks, Yasmin. Appreciate it.
Like, is this like the older cops? They already are not white, Richard, I don't know.
It's actually more than just to be here because of the funny. It's never been dangerous before.
What's up? What's up?
We understand why you're here. It's okay.
This sucks, guys. I can't believe you're doing this. This is brutal. Honestly, brutal.
We're going to get through this. It's the police. Please move. Please move. Please follow instructions. Be gentle. Be calm. Be kind. Be gentle. Do not raise your hand to the police. Be calm. Be gentle. Do not raise your hands to the police. If you're going to stay and be arrested, do not struggle. Do not raise your hands to the police. The police are our brothers and sisters. Don't fight. If they arrest you, let them take you. But do not fight. Be peaceful. Stay calm.
America.